Hey everybody! Welcome back to Roadside Nuggets. Today we're going to talk about creativity. Woo woo. So I have a really cool video I actually want to show. I'm really excited. It's really funny and hilarious. Um, but definitely just today absolutely has been absolutely nuts. Like a lot of stuff just coming up, like expression, writing stuff out, and definitely I feel, when we get into creativity and we actually talk about creativity, it's a lot more than just like making something. It's a lot more than just pretty colors being put together. Definitely the expression in that, the reason, the why, the purpose, the intention behind it, all that has to do with the creativity. It's not just this aimless thing just flaunting around that looks colorful. You know what I'm saying? Um, and it was just really funny because I was like feeling into what the stream was going to be today. I literally put this together like in the last hour, and definitely moms and angels talking about creativity and like how it all just came together. I, like threw on this shirt because I didn't even have like a yellow, like a whole yellow shirt, like solid yellow. And then on the back of this shirt it says like Grateful Dead on it, but it's like a really happy shirt. It's like a hippie shirt. So I flipped it, I turned it around, and like I looked at this word from the top and like I couldn't read it. So I thought it was like a different language. So then I just left it. I was like, all right, well, if I can't read it, then they won't know what it means. So cool. And then like Mother Mary's sitting there looking at it. She's like, inspiration. Interesting. And I was like, huh? And I'm like, I literally had to like turn my head to the side to read it that way. And I was like, oh, it does say that. And it's just really funny. We laughed about it, but it just how synchronistically all that lined up. I just put on a shirt, talks about inspiration, talking about creativity today. And yeah, none of it was planned. It's just go figure. Mom is always on it. She's got us, got our back. Make sure we got everything together, even when we're kind of like all over the place. So thank you, Mom. Uh, so definitely, I feel with all the intensity and just everything that's been going on this last couple of days, the weeks, months, just all the stuff everyone has been pushing through. We got to make it to the point where we start practicing something, right? Even if that practice is creativity, something that allows the energy to release, to express, to come out from inside of you and be manifested physically, through your own hands that you can apply and create something, co-create. That is a big thing. And with a lot of things that have been coming up and processing, this leaves humanity in a lot of places where like, okay, well, what do we do with this energy now, right? Okay, we looked at some stuff, we've reflected on this, we see this, so what do we do with it now, right? And so that's the next part of the process is, okay, what do we do with, how do we creatively go about moving this energy, right? So whether it's like expressing through a song or writing a poetry, writing an essay or something, or throwing on clothes and acting something out, or whatever it feels for you to creatively move your body or use your voice or your talents, your gifts, your ability to write and use words, put them together. All those different things are forms of creativity, but it takes what? It takes reason. It takes intent. It takes purpose. It's those aren't things that just pop out of nowhere and you just produce them. No, they are born from a lot of undercurrents that have to do before creativity even is ready to come forward. Um, and so just with especially this new moon we had in Cancer, very emotional moon for me especially, and I feel definitely it provides a massive opportunity to create. Having a lot of emotions not only release and come up to the surface to be reflected on, but giving the opportunity to flip those emotions to something higher now, something better, something that feels way better, it's more enjoyable, brings higher states of happiness for you, right? So this is the part where we have to trust ourselves, give ourselves permission to be relaxed, to have peace, to be in a slow pace if that's what we feel we need to be in, and not try to adhere to a standard or an expectation, whether it's internal or outside ourself. And that ensures that you're giving yourself the space you need to process, whatever it is. And when it's ready to be created, birthed into something else, when everyone gets bored of things, right? So whenever you get tired of an idea, tired of, that's what it is. It's a redundant, stagnant frequency that needs to be evolved and needs to be transformed into something higher, something grander that allows more love into that truth, right? So this is the birthing process where you have to flip that idea now, that behavioral pattern, that same addiction, obsession, whatever it was, flip it into a higher idea, a higher joy, truth that allows more love, more compassion, more ability for you to express yourself, be vulnerable in that higher truth versus the lower one that you were stuck in, right? So, definitely encourage everyone to push your limits, step outside of your box of comfort zones. I'm right there with you. This whole week, I've been like freaking getting slammed with all kinds of triggers and just different things that are pushing me outside of those set limits that, in a lot of ways, from 3D, we out of survival mode, out of the fight or flight, we have certain conditions. We have certain walls and barriers and boundaries that we set for ourselves, and those help ensure our stability, helping make sure that we can manage ourselves, and mostly that's out of the lack of trust we have for ourselves. We don't really trust ourselves. We don't trust our actions fully 100% to where we don't have to focus on that or worry about it. So the boundaries and the limitations, the box, so to speak, is set because of your own fears. So those are definitely going to get pushed down. You have to expand beyond those borders if you're going to understand and expand more into life. There is so much more outside of what you have understood for yourself, what you've connected to, and the limitations are blocking you from having that opportunity, having that idea, having that expansion, that experience that will allow you to better create more, expand more with what you can express in different ways because you had different experiences. So it gets down to the catch-22, right? Where is you either surrender or you don't. But the experiences are going to keep happening. So truly, you can choose for the higher to have joyful, more happy experiences that are more focused on the healing and resolving, the trauma and the issues. Or we can fight with ourselves. Or we can fight with the truth. We can fight with the reality. We can fight with our attachments, our, resistances, our denials, delusions, whatever they are, fantasies. And we can make it that much more difficult for ourselves moving forward. Or we can surrender to the child. Allow the child to bring it back to purity. Bring it back to pure whole truth. Unconditional love. That does not have judgment, does not have opinion, does not have all these things about it where it makes this an inferior concept, an inferior situation, an inferior condition that someone either has to experience, live through, or go through in a process. Allowing it to be free, allowing it to be love for real, that allows truly the highest healing to come in. It allows the highest manifestation to come in. Being in denial, being in resistance about things that are already a truth, that are already a part of the reality, it makes no difference. It's a redundancy at that point to further perpetuate the dysfunction of denial, of lying to yourself or lying to other people, something that has already occurred, that you can't go back and change. And you can't dismiss it now because it's part of reality. So therefore, the only thing we can do with this energy is transform and flip it to a higher truth, a higher idea of healing that everyone can receive from. And that's how we're going to break it through all these different layers of dysfunction. Everyone is just going around in a circle right? And the lightheartedness, the compassion, the humor, the joy. We watched Mom go through hell 24/7 every day. Every single day was hell for God. Yet, God constantly pushed to be in the highest states of joy she could be in those moments with conditions and what was, available, for Mom and just in that environment, wherever she was in the country at that moment, and Mom excelled in that, bringing the humor into everything. As the dysfunction and the ego tried to rear its big ugly head and try to take the spotlight, Mom just laughed her ass off because it's so funny. It's so dumb that it's funny how dysfunctional and perpetual the ego chooses to be, hard-headed, stubborn, and just keep going at it the same way. And mom just was like, what is that? I didn't create that. That's total dysfunction. She could just laugh at it. That's all she could do. Because how many times are you going to get mad about something? How many times are you going to get irritated over something? How many times are you just going to lose your freaking sanity over the same thing over and over and over again until you just realize, what the fuck? I'm just going to laugh at this. This is ridiculous. This is dumb. And it has nothing to do with enabling someone else or making someone feel good about the dysfunction they're in. No, I'm not worried about that. For your own sanity and for your own stability internally, just laugh at it because it is dumb. Agree with yourself. It's dumb. It is such dysfunction. And it doesn't have to mean something heavy when you say that. It doesn't have to mean this ultimate punishments when you say dumb, dysfunction. It's just dysfunction. That's all it is. Let's step back from like the whole heavy-handed terms, and like it's really the energy you put behind it that dictates the after results of it, And a lot of that's how you, thank you, angels, talk to yourself, how you communicate with yourself. Are you very rash with yourself, very, very grabby, very throwy, just shoving yourself all over the place, pushing yourself into different things you don't want to do, feeling obligated, controlling yourself, not letting yourself express, being unhappy, all these different things? Are you doing this to yourself? Because chances are you are. But now, instead of actually looking at it and accepting it, we want to make more pain and suffering off of it, right? No, just stop looking at it. Stop focusing on all the crap. And I feel today it'd be really, really awesome for everyone just to have a moment, have a break, okay? Step back from the driving wheel, okay? Just have a moment, breathe, and look left to right, okay? And check your gauges, check yourself. Are you okay? Allow yourself these moments of just like kind of like childlike lightheartedness. Be playful, have fun, go around, laugh. How many people actually like watch, shows or actually make an intention to watch something like comedy like to help them get to that state of joy and happiness? Is it even an intention, or is it something just like I'd rather watch scary movies and blood and horror all day? It's like, okay, what are we actually giving energy to, ladies and gentlemen? Um, and I find that interesting too. I even in high school, I thought that was like absolutely insane. How a lot of people are just addicted to those things, like going to movies and watching that gross, very dark, gory horror stuff. And they're not very happy people either, and they have like this weird, sarcastic, like psychotic type personality as well as how detached they are from themselves, where they can endure something like that. That's actually very traumatizing to sit an hour and a half through and watch that shit. And you have to process that afterwards. It's like, what did I just watch? What is that? But to be so detached from themselves, to be able to watch those things and just experience that deep, dark, lower frequencies, and find joy in it, find entertainment in that, find gratification in some of the most horrific, cruelest scenes you've ever seen. And yeah, it's satisfying to them, and this is where the creativity has been so hijacked. Humanity is so disassociated from themselves, where they don't know what they like. Humanity doesn't know what they actually really love. They've been spending their whole life running from everything that is real, true love. So how in the dysfunction going the opposite way did we find what actually brings happiness and joy? We didn't. That's why we didn't find it, So really, if you look at the ways, and mom was really, really good at pointing this out, fake joy, false joy. What actually is that? And you look at where people are getting their joy from, and it's fucked up. It's narcissistic. It's psychotic. It's not love at all. It's um, a very twisted sense of humor coming from a traumatized person that's trying to make it okay. They're trying to tell themselves it's okay that they're okay, and they're really not okay, and they can't accept that. So they're going to go around trying to put up this whole, show, a charade, and that's where, a lot of people are trying to, quote unquote, create, out of dysfunction, create out of trauma, create out of pain and suffering, create out of just total, I would say, just super ego, And that's not creativity. It's not creativity at all. You can call it whatever you want all day long, 24/7, all under the sun, the moon, whatever. It's not creativity. It never will be creativity. You see, creativity God created. And God created creativity out of love. So the dysfunction that people are monopolizing off of and crediting towards creativity, that is just pain and suffering that they're trying to put a sheet over, trying to cover up, trying to make it seem like something that's not. Um, and that definitely that's a big one, because I feel the self neglect gets to a certain point where people just don't have the motivation and, like the shirt says, inspiration to really even dig that up within themselves and create. A lot of backlashing, a lot of self-criticism, self-judgment, self-opinions, all those things feed into that and the ability for you to actually create from yourself, because you're pulling it from your essence, you're pulling from your very being. So if most of your being is in judgment of itself, distrust of itself, lack of faith, disassociated from yourself, neglect, you don't care, you don't show up for yourself, you don't support yourself, then how in this century do you feel you're going to create out of that pain and out of that dysfunction? You're not. So only when we start flipping it, when we let go of the attachments and the reasons for why we do things because of this, and we just create from our heart space, because we are loved, because we forgive, we can let go, we can heal, we can see the higher truth in all these things, we can understand that these things are needed, they were necessary for our evolution and stages of growth through what humanity is becoming. That is truly flipping it, and that will allow you to be able to create from it, not using it, not using that energy to create from, because it's not creation, it's just dysfunction, it's more manipulation, deception, and just all this crap. It's convoluted, it's gross, it has nothing to do with love, um, and where humanity is very big on enabling each other and superficiality. It allows this to go so unchecked, and that's what happens. With a lot of children growing up too. I want to touch on that too. Thank you, Angels. Just in the school systems, I graduated high school in 2011. So it's been about like 10, 11 years now. I can't remember. Pretty sure. I'm not good at math. And definitely I remember in high school, in middle school, it was getting down to the point. I remember there was like this energy where, like, teachers and these, what do they call them, Angels? Like, they have a name. Uh, Not guidance counselors. The other one. AP counselor. I feel that's what they were called. AP counselor. And so basically they were responsible for charting our career path. Basically, so from first year in high school, freshman year, and then the next 3 years of my high school um, education, basically, and every student in that school, basically, you had a assigned AP officer, like this being that basically knew all your classes, knew all your grades, knew what you were doing, and basically they were in charge of helping you chart your career path, who and what you're gonna do and be after high school. And now, mind you, this starts in freshman year. Like 4 years before graduation is even in your eyes. Like, you got to already think about what you want to be in this world, and what you're going to be good at, and you got to make that decision now. Like, what in the world are you talking about, Willis? Seriously. That's the crazy thing, where adults, you have full grown adults in their 30s, 40s, 50s, all just everywhere, who don't even have themselves figured out, don't even have life figured out, don't even know what the fuck they're doing. And yet we have these requirements and rules and extreme stress, unnecessary stress, and expectations to put on children in school when they're not even in that space yet, to what comes after this. How are they going to get 4 years ahead of themselves and already be able to picture that and decide? They have no idea what these next 4 years are going to do. to their human psyche, their consciousness, the emotional trauma they're about to incur these next 4 years that are seriously going to change that idea that they're trying to stuff down their throat right now. You see? And then all this dysfunction and chaos, the third year into high school, when you get close to it, or that last year, and it's like all of a sudden the classes and everything, your interests, all this stuff, it doesn't add up to what you want to do now. So basically, you just spent the last 3 years of high school taking classes and focus on things that have nothing to do with your career path that you actually want now. And it was all dictated by someone else by pushing you, power over, control, making you decide, make a choice for yourself in your life now that obviously was going to change at that point, you know? And this is just part of the insanity that these school systems put children through, and especially on the part where, again, thank you, Angels, the creativity, a big part of that I so was aware of in high school and I did not like one bit was the fact that there was like little to no creativity. Like all the art teachers they were crushed. Like literally, like the school's budget and the panel or whoever decides where the budget funds for the school goes to, whether it's the football team, the choir, the band, or wherever who's going to get the money and stuff like that. The panel, they also dictate the money funds for the school events and school classes, school supplies, things like that. And I remember from freshman year going into high school all the way through those 4 years, how undervalued art class was, how undervalued theater and the art classes, anything that had to do with theater arts or, just art specifically, so undervalued, so pushed to the side. And I remember there was a being that had graduated from that high school, some time ago before, and he, I guess, went off, did his thing. He made some money or whatever, and he came back and he donated those funds to the school for this massive Coliseum theater art studio, building, and this is where they hold the not arena. I guess it's, I don't know, whatever. The stage, place, whatever. The auditorium. Thank you, because I can't remember the shit today. Auditorium, and then basically they had other classes, rooms on the outside, and that's where the speech classes were, theater arts. The deeper parts of like costumes, plays, video production. Learning how to do the lights and the cameras and everything, video recording these different plays. Art class, painting, sculpting, all these, so much beautiful opportunities, that children, young adults need to be involved and need to allow themselves to express and practice and just heal through and to watch, and that's probably why this guy came back to actually donate all that money for the school. So they actually had that, for children, because you could see how the school actually really was with the rest of the budget money or like that. Besides that donation, they completely squeezed those art teachers dry. I remember, and I don't know why, it's just probably just my energy or whatever, but I remember there was moments when my teachers, like if I would just go there after school, if I was like the only child in the class, a lot of times the teachers would have like this different energy about them. There's like their walls completely fell away when it wasn't during school hours and all the children and other teachers around. It's like, and it was just me in the class, and their walls fell away with me, and they really, I would hear them express a lot sometimes, especially the art teachers, and one of them cried, and she really was upset that she was spending her own paycheck money, to make sure that the children had the things they needed for the project. And it's sad. It is so sad, to watch mainstream crap, bullshit be pushed into children's heads, and then to be pushed and forced to learn it and brainstorm and remember that crap, and yet all the beautiful qualities, creativity and the actual real parts of life, part of actually growing and evolving and developing yourself into whatever you're going to become, those actual very important tools, like creativity and how we go about doing that, how much they're staunched, how much they're just squeezed and pushed out and not a priority in schools anymore. And I graduated in 2011. So I mean, this was even back then, like, and I'm pretty sure it was a big thing even before I even got to high school at that point. And it was just like this very gradual decline that I watched over the years go, how just all the focus and the importance for art and creativity was just more and more diminished. And it wasn't valued that much, and I would watch this, crazy insane event happen. You get to like the office, and it's that last year, your senior year, and they try to instill more anxiety and stress and fear in you, as a person, because then they're like, oh well, you need these many points to graduate, and if you want to take these art classes, you're not gonna have, because this is how they really undervalue art and stuff. So like most of those art classes and everything were excuse me, either free classes or they were 0.5 points. It wasn't even a full point for the class. It was half a point. So literally forcing you to value art and creativity with how many points you actually have to acquire through your classes in order to graduate and meet the criteria. So basically you're forced to like not choose the art, the ones with less points, but those are all the important parts of your healing and growth and development. Just further shutting down the right hemisphere of the brain, not allowing that to be stimulated through school, through the early stage of child life, where that is the most important and also the biggest part of your growing phase. Your brain is still growing, it's still absorbing, still orientating itself with the physical world. And so, of course, if part of that brain, that whole half of the hemisphere is not being stimulated, if it's not being applied in any way, it's not being worked through with energy, then just imagine all just like the stagnation, that growth that does not take place because it's not being cherished, it's not being respected or valued. Those are the consequences, that a lot of us and the children today are suffering from, by humanity's refusal to allow themselves to express truly, authentically from themselves, their own inner creativity. So definitely, I felt that strongly today. Really to get that out there and share. You got to step out of those boxes. You got to figure out what makes you laugh, what makes you smile so big you can't control it, and you can't pull that smile back down. You just it's gone. You smile. Those different moments that really bring you those real high states of joy, happiness, just gratitude. Those are really what you need to focus on right now, and how to build a bigger bridge to those points. Because it'll help you flip all the rest of the stuff you're struggling with now by being able to flip it back to peace, flip it back to faith, flip it back to trust, flip it back to love. You see? There's higher healing that you're keeping away from yourself by choosing not to step out of that box and trying to work with just what you've always been working with. It's not going to change. See? Christina said, when I was 16, I was like, what the fuck? Yeah, exactly. It's fucked. It's really, really fucked with this. But anyway, yeah, let's laugh for a moment. So I'm going to put this video on. No. Oh, there we go. Ah, I'm still learning this thing. So it's like this mic piece. This mic piece on you. I had to mute it for the video, but then didn't unmute it. All right. Sweet. Angels. I know you can. Holy snap. That is like maybe sweat. I was like got super hot. Oh wow. So yeah. So like that. What I was saying, what I was sharing earlier is with creativity, allowing yourself to express and expand. And a lot of what humanity is going to be going through, when ascension happens, when starships start dropping out of the sky, it's going to look a lot like that. People just really confused, turning their heads. Hi everyone, thank you for sharing that with me. And it's going to be a very interesting experience. It's when you start stepping out of the box. This is what I was sharing earlier. When you start stepping out of the box and those boundaries and limitations that you have, and you start expressing those parts that you never shared with anyone, that you never showed or told anyone. It's always just been like this not even a dark secret, just this part of you that you just never felt worthy in showing anyone. Because you probably have a lot of judgments about it. You probably have a lot of condescending, just belief systems that don't even really exist. You're just being a dick to yourself, and you need to stop it. But all these different things, this is all part of the creativity, and allowing that true expression to come up. But a lot of ways this is where humanity is going to be at when you start stepping out of that box and doing these like just out of the norm things. They're gonna turn heads. They're gonna look at you sideways and all kinds of just like, what the fuck? They're gonna be confused, lost in the sauce, and that's because they are stuck in the linear, and you really gotta be organic. You gotta be spontaneous in the moment and really just in the heart, to be in that flow. And the mind can't follow there. The ego can't follow you through the present moment and true love and that frequency. So therefore, it just scatters. It just like, total like short circuit, like fried the brain. It's like, what is going on? And then that's where you see a lot of people's control, their judgment, their opinions, their power over, and things come out, their fear and paranoia. And all in all, it's necessary. It is necessary if your beauty, if your creativity, if what in who you are triggers other people by you being your true self, then that is a gift, because it shows you how beautiful and bright you really are, and how just dismissive and really resistant a lot of people are with accepting their own light, their own truth, their own love, their own empowerment. And so when someone else stands in theirs, they're like, oh no, fuck that guy. And they make it something bad. That's the greatest thing God ever asked you to do. The one thing she ever, all the time, no matter what, even begged humanity at one point to do, was just to embody your higher self. Just be the greatest, grandest you can be in that moment. She's not asking you to be 100% her in every moment and not make a single mistake, not, know exactly what to do in every moment, all these different things. No. She said, in that moment, whatever situation, conditions you are in, please just be the greatest, grandest example of love that you can be. And she showed us how to be that. And if you can't even make that your intention, probably got to look at that, right? Anyways, getting to creativity and getting to creativity and just ultimately what that is the spark of, the spark of the inner child's brilliance, coming online. Children are brilliant in their creativity because it's organic. It's not something that you taught them. It's not something that they're trained on. It literally is just present moment, raw reality coming through them. Pure life, pure love, pure magic, because they are connected to everything around them, the etheric, the angels, the elementals, and they allow those things to flow through them as they create and talk and share. And that's true creativity. Bringing from your own essence and producing something that can add to the greater whole, unity consciousness, provide for the greater, bigger collective. That truly is creativity. If you're just something for yourself, in a lot of ways you have to ask yourself, is that creativity or is it just self-importance? It might be creative abilities, you might be doing things you do in a creative way, but if it's at the end of the day just for yourself, self-importance, you've tainted and manipulated the whole end result of that process. Truly without, it has nothing to do with yourself. It's something that just an energy within you that would like to be expressed, would like to be birthed, would like to be created into manifestation. And you never know. Might be 100 people out there that when they connect to that gift that you share, they can now heal. But you didn't know that because of course, you had to trust, you had to have faith, you had to feel mom and really have faith that this was the highest, to let this go, to share this, express it with integrity, being authentic, being real you. Don't downplay it. Don't change it up. Stop playing by someone else's rules. There are none. Be you. Be organic. Just be love. And you can say a lot of these things, you're like, oh wow, that sounds really great. But yeah, until you start applying these things and actually doing it, it won't make a whole lot of sense to you, and you'll be struggling to figure out why you can't actually get to the creativity part. Like you can't actually get to the part where it allows that flow to come through instead of just about dysfunction, attachments, the delusions, the fantasies that people perpetuate, instead of actually getting up and living out those dreams, actually applying it. There's a lot of things mom said about dreams. She's the giver of dreams, but if you ain't gonna pick up your hands and help her build it, what the fuck you think you're gonna get out of it, right? It's like, this is not a free ride to heaven, everybody. And a lot of the brilliance, a lot of the intelligence, a lot of the anchoring of the higher self happens through the simplest of actions. That's why do you feel at all, like we made such a big deal, the last 3 years, our mission about right action, doing this, being in integrity, being able to do this at this intention. Are you in your heart when you're doing this simple chore of sweeping the floor? Can you even sweep the floor in the right frequency? That's the point. Because if you can't even do that, then you're lost to the rest of it, because there's no concept that you're going to even be able to grasp at that point. To be able to honor the simple truths, the simple principles will allow you access and allow you to understand the higher truths. But if, as long as you see it as a chore, as long as you see it as just this miserable thing you got to go through, and it's just a task and something that has to be done, and it's like something you really don't want to do, and you can't see how that actually brings more joy to actually have a clean floor that you can walk barefoot on and not feel all this grimy, grainy stuff under your feet. It's actually clean and smooth. You have no idea how much has to go into an experience. But if you're not prepared to actually help yourself have the grandest experience, then you really don't care about yourself. You really don't care about nobody else. And you're not here for the intention of co-creating a better place for other people to live. These things have to be important to you. They have to mean something to you. You have to see the purpose in it, because that allows you to see the higher purpose in everything else. Really, truly, divinity is in the simplicity, and that you have to anchor that in, and just letting go of all the bullshit, the belief systems, trying to think everything through, trying to control how everything happens, trying to dictate, how it appears to somebody else. It doesn't matter. Allow that to express and come forward. And in a lot of ways, when you first start this, especially people who have not practiced this in long moments or haven't really felt the freedom and given themselves permission to do this, it's going to feel all wrong. It's going to feel awkward. It's going to feel like you fucked it all up. It's going to feel like it's just crap, trash. It's going to feel stupid. You know why? Because you spent your whole life for years making yourself feel and think that it's going to be that way when it does start to come out. So don't be surprised when you actually start taking the steps to do this process. That's actually your experience you get at first, because you need to see that that's what you created for yourself. And as long as you don't get hung up on it, as long as you don't attach to that experience, and you're like, okay, wow, that's some intense shit. I take full accountability for creating that for myself. I shouldn't have done that to myself for years. I'm going to let this go now. You will see that diminish. You'll see the intensity of that go back down. Okay? And as you keep going through that process, you'll see it start to flow out more and more, and you'll get excited. You'll want to do it more. You'll be motivated more. You'll be inspired to feel and hear and see what can actually come through you without even knowing what it's going to be yet. That's magical. That's exciting. That's called present moment of 5D New Earth. And that's where we're going. And it takes moments for everyone to get this. And not everyone's in the same space. And that's okay. But understanding that creativity is not just this loose name that just flies around and it's like, oh yeah, we'll be creative. Oh, we'll, do something creative. No, what is creative to you? Do you actually know what that means to you, creativity? Have you explored it? Have you practiced it? When was the last time you practiced it? And when did you honor that process and allowing it actually be a tool for you to release? Probably 9 out of 10 will say no. Right? And that's where we're not supporting ourselves. That's where we're not showing up for ourselves. We're not helping assist ourselves in the releasing process. We're sitting on the side of the road like, okay, someone's going to come by and pick me up soon. No, get your butt up. You got to move. Take the steps. If you're not going to walk it, don't expect someone else to do it for you, right? You have to know why this experience is coming to you, why it is your experience to push through. Why is it even a battle for you? Where did the frequencies come from? It's all a puzzle game. It's all a journey. You're not supposed to have all the answers, but if you're too scared to experiment, if you're too scared to try anything new that you haven't done before, you're not going to get there. Because the ego knows all of your moves. The ego that's been sitting in the backseat of your car since the moment you were born, it knows all your moves. It knows all your thoughts. It knows exactly where your attachments are, exactly where your weaknesses are. So until you step out of that box and do something new you have never done before in a way you have never even thought about doing, you're not going to really catch your ego by surprise and have that massive expansion. Because the entire time it's going to try to dictate and follow along and see what you are doing, trying to head you off and sabotage, right? Which is why we have to be spontaneous. Just be organic. Just be in that moment and allow yourself just to be in that moment. Have no judgments or opinions or fears or paranoias about what could come or what could happen, and just accept that maybe the highest experience can happen. Maybe I'm finally worthy. Maybe we deserve the highest experience to happen instead of all the lowers that everyone else wants to constantly project or predict that will happen, right? Imagine how relieving and just freeing that would be to manifest the highest joy and experience. And you're like, wow, I totally expected the worst. Totally thought it was gonna be fucked up, That's that. You're like, wow. It doesn't have to be the same pain and suffering over and over again. It doesn't have to end the same way. It doesn't have to come about the same way. It doesn't have to be about the same things anymore. Just let it go. Look at a different way, flip it, look at a higher truth, a higher lens of love, forgiveness, compassion, nurturing, being able to let these things go. And stop the denial. Stop lying to yourself about things. Stop trying to have this pish posh attitude, like you ain't got nothing wrong with you, that you're not going through anything, that you don't have no contracts or nothing like that. If you're on this planet right now, you got contracts. And they ain't all light either. So the accountability and responsibility really does come from all of it. And you need to reflect and focus on all of it, because all of it's worthy of love, of truth, of trust, forgiveness, compassion, and higher understanding. Because when you can give that to yourself, you can now share that with other people who have not had the opportunity, who have not had that experience and cannot get there with their current understanding they have right now. Therefore, leaders and examples have to be born. And most of the time, it comes from the suffering. So at some point, everyone's going to get their balls and decide that they are worthy and they're accountable and responsible for the massive roles we have on this planet. It has nothing to do with making you weak. It's everything to do with making you strong and the strong beacon of light, an example that mom left here on this planet for the rest of our brothers and sisters, so they can wake up and come home and find their way through the darkness, the unconsciousness that gets them at every turn. You know how long the road's been to this point for you. You know what you dealt with getting to this point. So don't for a second think or feel that it's going to be different for them, or that they have to get here faster now because you're already here. It's not fair. You don't get to dictate, control, judge, push your own agenda on anyone else. Everyone is waking up on due time. The divine plan's already unraveling. Nothing's going to stop it. Everyone's got their cue. No one is going to move before that cue. So whether you want it to happen now or yesterday doesn't really matter at all. You still have to hold the same compassion for your other brothers and sisters while they make it. Just like others held the same space for you. Just like God held the same space for all of us. Nobody's exempt. No one is better than anyone. No one is higher than anyone. And there's no time measure on any of this for anyone to make it. Whatever is necessary, whatever is the highest to happen, will happen for the divine plan to move forward. All right. I love you all. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. I feel we're coming up to the end of this hour. I'm sorry. Thank you. I feel it was Kavlin and Christina. Thank you for letting me know about the mic. That was funny. But yeah, I will see you guys tomorrow. And definitely, I don't know. There's masterclass tonight, trauma masterclass. There's been a couple people who have messaged me since we've started the first class, and we run class 4 today. So just if you still feel like joining that class or would like to participate, you can still get in now. The classes are still live, and we'll send the rest of the other videos to you and you can catch up on those. Most of the videos are only like an hour. There's one that's 2 hours. So it's fairly catch upable. It's a lot of information. But if that is something for you, or even at later moments, you can always buy it, at later moments. But it's there, it's available. And there is a chat room too available for the beings that are not part of the live class. Just let me know. And if you are actually following along with this, let me know. We can put you in the chat room so you have that experience and space to heal through and use for transformation as well. So I love you all. Please take care of yourselves. Love yourselves. Let go of all the self-judgments and give yourself the permission just to express. However that may be or seem or look like, does not matter. Just allow yourself to be in these moments. All right. I love you all.